Good afternoon, guys. Let me know if you guys can hear me. We should be good to go and set up here. All right, we got some things to talk about here. Hello, everybody. All right, so a few things to talk about with today's, should I say tonight's threat. If you were on the stream this morning, you would have had some information already at your hands, but at this point in time, nothing really has changed. The SPC continuing the slight risk, but they've also expanded the marginal risk to the west, encompassing pretty much the entire lower peninsula of Michigan now in a severe risk. Again, low end threat for some hail and low end threat for some wind on the western part of the state now does exist with any pop up storms that happen through the afternoon and evening time frames. But the majority of our focus is going to be on a potential squall line that takes shape later this evening around the 8 p.m. time frame. So we look at our current observations, mesoanalysis. This is real time in the moment data. So I'm going to look at one thing in particular here I want to focus on is our instability, but also our cap. So you guys see the red lines on this model. That is indicative of your cape or instability. You can see here on the western part of Michigan, we already have a good amount of surface cape pushing into the area. There's actually 7,500 surface cape showing up over in Illinois and also eastern Iowa. So there is a extreme, it's not significant, it's extreme amount of instability working its way into the Southwest Michigan area as the afternoon and evening goes on. We do expect there to be about 4,000 to 5,000 surface cape to work with for these storms later this evening. But one thing I want to point out, this is a big thing today, is the cap. You see within those red lines, there's like a little aqua / blue kind of shade to it. That is what we call CIN, CIN, convective inhibition, or basically meaning a cap. What we want to see is that blue start to erode away. If you want storms, that is. We want to see that blue get eroded away. We want to see what we see out here in Illinois, where there's just pure white behind it. We want to see that in Michigan if you want to see storms. As long as we have that blue in the state of Michigan, doesn't matter how unstable we get, doesn't matter how much shear we have, how much moisture we have. As long as we have that cap, we're not going to see wind or a tornadic threat develop. There are storms still possible in this blue zone. I'll go ahead and call it the blue zone. There are storms that could pop up, but they won't reach the levels of damaging winds or tornadoes. There'll be a heavy rain, lightning, and also a hail producer, as we saw this morning. That is going to be the biggest concern with any storms this afternoon is going to be hail. The cap that we saw on the models is currently in place. We looked at some soundings, some x-rays of the atmosphere this morning, and the cap is firmly in place now. And as you can see here on the real-time data, as you can see in blue, that is your convective inhibition, also known as the cap. Now, the cap is warm air aloft in the atmosphere. So as we get into the evening time frames, that cap can and should weaken, which is why we see the later time frame on expected storms. Now, storms we expect up in the Tri-City Saginaw area, around that area is where we're kind of looking for storms to develop. They may start out as isolated. If they do, I'm going to stress, if they do form, if the cap does break, which we do expect the cap to break at this point, we do expect it to break. Around the Tri-City area, look for development around 7 to 9 p.m. So right around the 8 p.m. time frame, give or take an hour or two. When that does happen, because of that cap, depending on how strong it is, we may see isolated storms to begin with before more storms pop up and congeal into a linear line and push to the southeast. So initial threats with those isolated cells, there could be a tornado or two possible with those cells, but the main threat is going to be large hail with those cells. When and if it congeals into a line, then wind would be the main threat. And again, that cap may prevent storms from becoming surface-based as well. So when you have that cap, it can either prevent storms or it could limit the strength of them. Like we saw this morning, we had a cap in place. The storms remain what we call elevated. We only had a hail threat. That's also possible tonight that we could see these storms go up, but they may just be a hail threat because that surface cap or surface inversion, we can call it as well, is so strong that the updraft cannot reach the surface. And therefore, it'd be mainly a hail threat. So a couple different scenarios could play out here. I just covered them all again. Cap may not break, no storms. Cap may not break or may break a little bit, but updrafts may not become surface based. So it'll be a hail threat. Or if the cap breaks completely and updrafts become surface based, we could see the threat for tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail all on the table, as well as flooding. Flooding is also going to be a concern tonight as well. Timing, again, is going to be after 7 to 9 p.m. ish, around that time frame. As the sun goes down, the cooling that takes effect, the cap weakens, storms will go up. Definitely possible we see those happening early evening. With that being said, again, all hazards are possible at this time. We're going to go ahead and highlight all hazards are possible. But if we get to the point where we're kind of seeing these storms pop up and we say, okay, these are elevated, we're going to switch our wording from all threats to mainly hail and maybe some gusty winds as well. So it's going to depend heavily on how that cap plays out. So again, instability is starting to work in the atmosphere, the instability is starting to work into the state. The cap is firmly in place. And at this point, it's a wait and see game. A slight risk does remain in effect for the eastern half of lower Michigan. A 2% tornado risk does encompass a large portion of the state. Now I'll go ahead and flip it over to this really quickly. You guys can see this. I'm not sure if you guys can see that on your page. But in green there, I'll go ahead and pull it up here. Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and pull it up on a better graphic so you guys can see the SPC threats. Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and pull up the view here. Perfect. Go ahead and stop this screen. Share this one. All right. Bam. You guys should be able to see the SPC threats at this point in time. So top left, that's your overall categorical risk, slight risk for the eastern half of lower Michigan, and the dark green on the western part, that's going to be your marginal risk. The middle green is going to be your tornadic risk. So areas that are under that threat include Big Rapids, Fremont, Hastings, Ionia, Alma, Mount Pleasant, Clare, Saginaw, Flint, Lansing, Jackson, Adrian, Monroe, Ann Arbor, Pontiac, and Detroit, as well as Lapeer, Sanilac, and Macomb counties up there. You guys are all in that 2% tornado risk tonight. Severe wind and hail, again, going to be highest on the east side of the lower peninsula. But again, there is a threat through the afternoon and evening for any pop-up storms in the western part of the state. That could become severe as well. So that is the overall outlook on this as far as we can tell you. Again, it's kind of a wait and see game at this point. We'll be watching it all day here and giving you updates as we get them. But at this point in time, it's a wait and see game. If the cap breaks, could an upgrade be warranted? I don't think so. I've seen weirder things happen, so I'm not going to rule it out, but I think it stays slight just given the uncertainty still with the event. Even up until the last update at 4:30, I don't think it's not going to be enough confidence, but also two, it's not a very widespread threat. It's going to be very contained to the eastern half of lower Michigan. So I really don't see an upgrade to an enhanced risk being possible at this time. All right, looking for some questions here. I'm honestly not sure. Great question, Freedom. Usually Detroit will do special soundings, and if they do, it's either going to be at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. Usually those are the special soundings that they launch the balloons. We'll have better data coming out when those happen, if they happen. I hope they launch. I do not know if they will or not. I can ask them and see if they can respond to me, but I do not know for certain. I think the overall tornado risk is going to be capped right at the 2% mark. I don't see it going any higher. I also don't see it being extended. There is some wind shear that favors some rotation this evening, but again, that's only if storms can be surface based. The confidence to upgrade any risk right now is quite low. Southwest Michigan, you should be in the clear. Just look out for any pop-up storms that happen through the afternoon and evening. The main squall line will be off to your east. I was looking for that too. I did not see a forecast update from Detroit. Usually they issue a forecast discussion update right around the 10 to 12 in the morning or 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. time frame, but I did not see one issued yet. So we're about to get a new day 2 outlook for Thursday as well. We do have a severe threat for tomorrow, but we're kind of holding off to kind of see how today plays out to kind of give a word. But we do have a threat tomorrow in southern Michigan. We can briefly go over here in a second. Garrett, 8 to 3 is about, yeah, that's pretty good. Right around the 8 p.m. time frame, we'll see storms pop up, and they should clear the state by 3 a.m. Monroe, expecting timing wise, you're looking probably closer to midnight. Again, that's going to be if the storms do fire. Could this environment support a strong tornado? No. Do not expect anything tornadic to be strong today. The upper level wind shear is actually quite, I'm not going to say weak by any means. It's sufficient, but for us to be concerned about strong tornadoes, we want to see one, we want to see supercells that are isolated or discrete, or two, we want to see an excessive amount of what we call SRH or storm relative helicity. And with the latest models, we really don't see the excess of SRH. So any tornadic should be really spin up really quick, embedded in the line of a linear complex. Yeah, I saw their update there. They're also saying there's a dew point approaching 80 degrees in Oceana County. Very, very moist environment out there. Not very often we see 80-degree dew points here in Michigan. And that's also what's fueling the heat advisories today as well. That temperatures around 90, 95, and the humidity about 70, 80% with dew points in the 75 to 80 zone. You're going to get heat indices close to or over 100 for most of us here. So winds are the main threat across the entire region today. The winds could top 60, 65 in spots. But again, that's going to be dependent on if the storms can be surface based. I would say the hail would be a good either way, either scenario. Hail will probably be a big threat as well. Be a safer bet to bet on hail more than tornadoes or wind. But given the forecasted linear complex, wind is definitely a very big concern tonight. So this is a very popular question on our page the past hour or so. We posted a post saying that we're looking at heat indices around 100 to 110. If you are in the cloud debris from this morning's storms, you're probably going to be capped right around 90, 95 on the heat indices. But everybody else in southern Michigan will see the 100 to 110 degree heat indices today and tomorrow. The real feel in Kalamazoo was 98. Battle Creek was 96. Jackson was, I believe, like 94, and Adrian was like 90, 91, 92, I think. So we're already getting indices at 1230, already close to the mid to upper 90s, approaching 100 already. This is for today and tomorrow. But if you are in like the northwest Detroit area where we have clouds and it rained earlier, you're probably going to see those upper temperatures capped right around the mid 80s, and then dew points with 70 or 75 or so should give you indices right around the 95 max range. So it's still going to be very hot. Take it seriously as well. It doesn't have to be a heat headline to, give you illnesses or heat stroke or stuff like that. So just take it seriously either way, but we'll see heat across the state more widespread tomorrow. That is a great question or a great point here. How tonight's storms may affect tomorrow's storms. Great point there. We'll be watching that closely. It's also why we're not really posting a forecast yet, because how tonight plays out will dictate how Thursday plays out. We'll probably post something here this afternoon between now and when we're waiting for storms to pop up, just to give people a heads up on it. But there is a risk for storms, severe storms tomorrow, mainly south of I-96. So Grand Rapids, Lansing, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Jackson, Adrian, Hillsdale, Coldwater, Detroit, Monroe, those areas. Mystic asks if I'm a meteorologist. I am not a meteorologist. We do have a few meteorologist students on our team, and a few graduated, but I personally am not a meteorologist. I've been interested in weather for over 9 years now. I've been chasing them for 6. So I'm pretty used to these setups and stuff like that. So I'm pretty knowledgeable. Alex, I saw we had a comment or one of our guys messaged us asking for the forecast. I saw that earlier. The forecast for tonight between the times you're going to be out on Lake St. Clair, you may have some showers and storms developing a little later, maybe like 8, 9, 10 o'clock. But after 10 o'clock, really by Lake St. Clair, you guys really should be on alert. But at that point, I believe you're going to be off the lake, is what I understood with your comment there. So, Alex, you should be clear for the first half unless something pops up, which is a low chance, possible, but low chance. The main bulk of the severe weather comes after 8 p.m., but Lake St. Clair probably closer to 10, 11 o'clock. I can't answer how long the storm will be severe. All I can really say is it's possible tonight. We could see a lot of wind. If storms become surface based, it'll probably be a pretty wide swath of damaging winds across the state. But if storms remain elevated, we may just see a hail threat develop, and it should last pretty long. Like we saw this morning with that storm, it had hail for about almost 2 straight hours on it. So it should be a pretty prolonged severe event. It's just a matter of what kind of hazard we're going to get. Is it going to be all hazards? Are we going to have spin up tornadoes? Are we going to have mainly hail? Is it going to be a complex that can produce gusty winds? Either way, at the very least tonight, we're going to have intense lightning, heavy rain, and probably a lot of thunder with this storms. I think hail's a pretty safe bet as well. It's just at this point we really don't know if it's going to be surface based to give us the wind and tornadic risk. Any chance for water spouts tonight? It's always possible, but up in the atmosphere, it's going to be hot, so you're not going to have that cold air aloft and the warm air on the surface of the water. So it's not going to be favorable for water spouts. Any water spouts do form, it'll probably be with any type of storms that have rotation with them. So it'll be tornadic water spouts. The storm direction today is going to be south-southeast at around 45 to 55 miles per hour. So don't look to your west southwest today. Look to your northwest today. It is possible to see severe weather in Mount Pleasant. Yes, it is. Stephanie, today is a day you got to keep an eye. Any storm that pops up today may be severe. The slight risk is mainly just for that squall line that we're kind of concerned about this evening. The marginal risk has been issued mainly to cover any pop-up storms that may form through the afternoon and evening hours that could become severe. Yes, nap this afternoon. Tonight's gonna be booming. That's a pretty good analogy right there. No hail in Shelby Township. That's great news. I heard you guys got some flooding up there, Elizabeth. No problem, Nick. No problem, Stephanie. Don't want to spend too much time here. I'm probably going to nap myself, honestly. I've been up since about 5 and only got about 4 hours of sleep. So I got to probably rest before anything happens tonight. Yes, Thursday currently does have a 2% tag for tornadoes in southern Michigan. Let's go ahead and pull that up really quick for tomorrow. Again, I'm not going to give details on tomorrow. I just want to go over the threat really quickly per the SPC. They are about to issue a new day 2 outlook that comes out. It's due in 10 minutes. Sometimes they're a little bit late on that. Sometimes they're early. I'll go ahead and check to see if they uploaded that. I don't think they have yet, but I'll check. And I'll go over some of the maps with you for tomorrow. No, nothing for tomorrow has been issued yet. Basically, between 94 and 96, there is a marginal risk, so low end risk right now for all hazards. This is your categorical risk. So Grand Rapids over to Flint and South. Pretty typical pattern that we've been in the summer is Grand Rapids, Flint, and South is in the threat. So it's pretty typical location here. The boundary is going to stall out from these storms overnight tonight. And that's what's going to give us our heat for tomorrow, but also our storm chances. Now, tomorrow, I will say, does look a little less capped than today. So storms will probably be surface-based tomorrow. Overall, I've told our team here that I'm more intrigued right now with how Thursday looks for an overall severe threat versus tonight. So we'll see what the SPC does with this and see how the models start to look through the afternoon, evening today. But overall, this is your categorical risk, which is the marginal. And then we go back here, we got to click on the 2% tornado risk. We have an idea of where that's at here. So the 2% is going to be Coldwater, Hillsdale, Adrian, Monroe, Ann Arbor, Jackson, and that's about it. So very, very condensed population in Southeast Michigan is under the threat tomorrow. And again, this is about to be updated. So this is issued about 12 hours ago from the SPC. We're about to get a new update here. If we stay on long enough, we might be able to get the update and go over it, but I don't want to spend too much longer on here. Sometimes they can be 20 minutes late. I'm not going to spend, 25 minutes on here just waiting for it. We will post the SPC update this afternoon for tomorrow, though. Joey, expect heat advisories to be issued at 4 o'clock this afternoon. They went ahead and mentioned that directly in their overnight forecast, saying they're going to hold off until the afternoon update this afternoon to issue those. But yes, expect those to be issued this afternoon for Detroit. Yes, Nick, that is a great point. We honestly thought it was going to be a lot further west than what it was. If you look on our page at the last update yesterday, we did highlight the SPC shifted the marginal risk over to the east, and also the latest HRRR model did shift that the bulk of the storms over to the east. So the HRRR did pick up on that, so we'll give it that. But we did expect it to be a little bit further west. The NAM kind of fumbled that. Sanilac County, it'll probably get a lot muggier today, although the heat advisory, or the heat, should I say, indexes will probably stay manageable for you guys up there, just because you're in that cloud debris from earlier storms. If we look on satellite very quickly here, we can see the areas that are under clouds right now. There. So areas under clouds are going to be held back with the higher temperatures, but the areas, 90% of southern Michigan is in either full sun or at least 80% sun here. We're seeing that as a result on surface instability with it kicking up now at Southwest Michigan. I do see there's an area now. If you go ahead and switch back over here to our instability, we do have an area to watch down here in Southwest Michigan where it looks like the convection inhibition has eroded already. And it says 5,500 surface-based CAPE. It's only 130, mind you. We're getting 8,000 now over here in Iowa and Illinois. So these models might be right spot on with a high in instability. So we might be talking close to 5, 6, 7,000 joules of surface-based CAPE today, which is just insanity. So it's going to be a very juiced atmosphere today. I'll just say that if any storm does happen to go up and break that cap, it's going to go nuts. Alex, that's a great question. And if the cap breaks tonight, I could see tonight being bigger than tomorrow. But if that cap doesn't break, I think the cap tomorrow has a better chance of breaking than today. So I'd say tomorrow. But again, I say tonight has the best broad spectrum, I guess, of severe potential. But the cap is weaker tomorrow, and I think the confidence is a little bit higher for tomorrow's threat. And that's why I'm more intrigued by it. I have to kind of wait and see. Let's go over a few things here. Yeah, here we go. So that cap here, this is your ML CAPE, which is up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You can see the atmosphere up in the upper levels is still very much capped there. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But there is some erosion going on the surface. So that's at least, if you want severe weather, that's at least good to see. But there's still a pretty good cap on the atmosphere in the upper levels here. You can see here in blue. So be evening, Eric, evening time tomorrow if it does occur. time frame for tomorrow, again, it's gonna be dependent on how today plays out, but it'll be evening right around the 5 to 9 time frame, I'd say. But again, that's subject to change, so take it with a grain of salt. Hillsdale is in that threat tonight. You are in a threat for damaging wind and large hail. Tornadoes seem unlikely that far west and that far south. Joey, it is possible we could see a few of those, especially if the linear complex develops and becomes surface-based. I wouldn't rule out winds close to 70. But again, it's really low confidence just given the amount of capping we have this afternoon. And I'll highlight this as my last thing, my last question I'll take. So Pam says, is it possible nothing blows up tonight? So the answer very shortly is yes, it is possible we see absolutely nothing form tonight. But given all of the data we have on our hands that we're kind of looking at, I think it's honestly likely we see storms develop. The biggest question I'm going to have with those storms is if they can become surface-based, given the inversion that's going to prevent updrafts from becoming surface-based. So that's going to be the biggest question. I think we will get storms tonight somewhere in eastern Michigan, but if they're going to be a hail producer or they're going to be damaging wind, tornado, and hail producers, that's going to be the biggest question. But overall, just given the strength of the cap, it is definitely possible we may not see storms develop at all, which is the go big or go home type of setup here. So, all right, guys, I'm about to hop off here. Jackson, you are in a threat tonight. Madison Heights, you are in a threat tonight. Jackson and Madison Heights, you are in that threat for all hazards, but again, depend on if the cap breaks. If the cap doesn't break and storms still go up, hail would be the main threat. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Probably nap. We'll get a forecast for the SPC when they release it up. Go ahead and check one more time here. Make sure they didn't release it while we're talking, which they have not. So I'll go ahead and get that up on the page when it gets issued here between now and probably 2 o'clock. I'll give a little bit of a informational graphic for it as well. So with that being said, guys, we will go live tonight if anything happens. We may have chasers in the field. I think, honestly, Joel and myself would be the only people chasing. The other three are actually meeting with one of our partners up in Grand Rapids today. So we may they should be home by the time storms fire up. So we may have somebody to host the stream. But I'll be here hosting the stream as well. If Joel wants to hop on here, he's welcome to. I'm not sure if he has plans to chase or if he's going to hop on here. But either way, we have you covered either way in the field or on radar. So stay tuned, guys. We'll post updates on the cap if anything happens. And stay safe. Thanks for watching.